Hey, podcast listening people. Connor Doobie here. Welcome to B2B Mentors. Grateful to have you here. Don't forget, you can check out the show on all your favorite podcast apps. Just look up B2B Mentors wherever you like to listen. Sometimes we do guest interviews, sometimes we do solo shows, but I do have a real treat for you, my friends. A return guest, actually, my friend Michelle Seiler Tucker is going to be here. So make sure you share this, like this, drop comments. And if you're listening, please go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review so others can find the show too. Without further ado, that was a lot of rhyming. I was pretty impressed with myself on that one. Guys, you might remember, I mean, we've grown pretty significantly in the last year, but Michelle Seiler Tucker, founder and CEO of Seiler Tucker Incorporated, author of Exit Rich. Michelle owns several businesses in several different industries, 20-year veteran in the M&A industry, for those of you who may not know, mergers and acquisitions, and is regarded as a leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing businesses. So whether you're a marketer, entrepreneur, CEO, founder, I guarantee you there's just that one golden nugget, right, Michelle? Like, that's all it takes is like you attend conferences, listen to podcasts. A lot of the times, just that one thing that applies to you in the current time that just turns the light bulb on and shifts everything in the right direction for you.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's funny you mentioned golden nugget because in my book, Exit Rich, each chapter is a golden nugget. It's golden nugget 1 and golden nugget 2. But yeah, I mean, all you really need is one idea to catapult your business to the next level. And I always say it's not what you know that gets you in trouble, it's what you don't know.
100%. So what's been going on the last year? You've done a whole world where you've probably done a bajillion podcasts in the past, several months. What's happened? What's transpired in the last year since we talked and the book's really, amplified out there?
Yeah, true. We've been on hundreds upon hundreds of podcasts, speaking events, spoke at Harvard, spoke at a bunch of other big events. And so what's new? Well, Exit Rich is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. That's exciting.
Congrats.
USA Today bestseller. Also a bunch of Amazon categories that we're number 1 in. And we've been up for some awards for Exit Rich. So it's really taken off. And that's all great. That's all fabulous. But what's even better than that is what our readers are saying. Our readers are saying, Exit Rich is the best business book I've ever read. I've got a pharmaceutical company that bought Exit Rich before Exit Rich actually came out. So we emailed him the download. We were emailing downloads before the book launch. And he said, Michelle, I printed it out on ledger paper and I gave each chapter to each one of my team leaders. And I said, do exactly what she says in this book. What her and Sharon Lecter say to do it. And so he said it was like by far the best he's ever seen. We're actually selling his company now. And we've had other business owners that have been in business for 20, 30, 40 years to say, I didn't know this. I didn't know this stuff. Or I know this stuff, but I'm not implementing it, because there's a big difference between what you know and what you're actually implementing, what you're taking massive action on.
So what is it, out of all the books out there and business books and even books about selling your company, exiting your company, doing M&As, what is it about Exit Rich that you feel? I got the crazy itch on my nose. What is it? Sorry. It's like make the face at Michelle over here. Please help me. It's like it comes in right as I was trying to talk. Whisker, something just shooting up there. What is it about Exit Rich that you think has caught on so successfully compared to other books in its, kind of similar category?
I think there's several things. I think first and foremost, I've been in this industry over 20 years in the trenches, buying, selling, fixing, growing hundreds upon hundreds of businesses. Sharon Lecter is a CPA, financial literacy expert, the advisor to different presidents. And I think it's a combination, the majority of the book has been written by me, and then Sharon contributes to Mentor's Corner. If you've read Exit Rich, remember her Mentor's Corner at the end. I think what makes it really, truly unique is because I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm in the trenches teaching you what you need to do from the minute you start or buy a company, of how you should plan your exit from the beginning. Like Stephen Covey always says, start with the end in mind. So I'm walking you through the trenches from day one of how to really build a sustainable business that you can scale. And when you're ready, you can have a sellable asset, because Steve Forbes says 80% of businesses will never sell. And Steve Forbes obviously endorsed Exit Rich. So you go back and look at that and ask yourself, why? Why? Why do you have less than a 20% chance of success when you go to sell your company? Well, that's because entrepreneurs don't build a company to sell. Many of us have built a glorified job in which we go to work at every day versus a business that actually works for us. So Exit Rich is all about really from the beginning, how to plan your GPS exit model from day one of starting or buying a company. It goes into the seller sanity check. It goes in, different exercises to do to see if you're in the right mindset to sell your company. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're never going to sell your business. You're going to sabotage your deal.
100%.
And so then it goes through, once you've identified what you want, what your objective is, what your GPS exit model is, then Exit Rich goes into how to build the infrastructure on what I call the 6 Ps. I've been in the trenches for 20 plus years. And what makes Exit Rich so different, what makes me so different, is I've owned businesses. I've operated businesses. Many of these books that have been written by people who have never even owned a business, never been in churches. It's easy for me to tell somebody how to sell your company. But unless I've actually been behind a desk, making the tough decisions, cutting the checks, unless I've been behind a desk putting out fires like all other entrepreneurs, you can't really be empathetic to what they go through. And for me, I'm really empathetic. I understand the challenges. I understand, trying to make payroll at the end of every week. I get it. I've been there. And I think that's what makes Exit Rich so different. And that's what makes me so different as an advisor, because most advisors, business focus, have never even owned a company.
You've been a real actual practitioner. And
I've been a real practitioner, and I still am.
Yeah, and you still work in a handful of hold a handful of companies now.
Yeah,
and
Exit Rich is like, it's just a complete blueprint on what you should be doing from day one to build your business, so you can have a better quality of life, so you can have financial freedom. It's not just about selling your company. You can keep your company, but if you build it to sell, you're going to have a much better widget. You're going to have a much better company. You're going to have a company that will work for you instead of you working for it. You can take vacations months at a time. Most business owners go into entrepreneurship to have a better quality of life, to have financial freedom. But most entrepreneurships don't even go on vacation. Most entrepreneurs miss their kids' plays and softball and soccer games. They're not having a better quality of life because they've created a job for themselves, not a business that runs for them.
Since we met last year and just reading your book last year, which the timing was so funny, like I literally read your book and then your team reached out to me and said, hey, we want to have Michelle. And I'm like, perfect. I was going to reach out to her anyways, because this is really good material. And I'm, of the younger millennial generation. And a lot of my peers that I come across are very braggadocious about this great company they have, and they're making all this money, and they have no staff, no infrastructure, no employees, no team, no system. They're maybe making 10, 20, 30K a month, but they're not actually building a business. They've just kind of worked themselves into a busy job and then brag about how busy they are all the time. Versus like maybe cutting their living expenses, actually hiring that extra staff member, building an actual team, and looking at it more as long-term and then ready for exit, versus like, I'm just going to make a bunch of money right now and that's my business and I'll do that forever.
Well, they won't do it forever because that's not sustainable. Number one, you are going to get burned out. There is a thing called health issues. There's a thing called the pandemic. There's a thing called death. A woman called me the other day. Her husband dropped dead of a heart attack at the age of 40 and left her with a mountain of debt. And she has no idea, she never dealt with the finances. She never dealt with the company business. And his business was a construction company. He didn't have any employees. He didn't have the first P, which is people. He didn't have the third P, which is processes. So when he died, the business died, and there was nothing I can do. So the bottom line is you got to grow a business. You don't build a business, you build people, and people build a business. But there's a lot of companies we're dealing with right now with that exact same scenario that you just mentioned. And that's what's happening is during this pandemic, so many people came out and many different generations, millennials, but other generations as well. We're dealing with one right now. They grew this nice check for themselves, this nice job for themselves. And now they want to sell it, but they have no employees. But they got great assets. They've been endorsed by Oprah Winfrey. They're all over the media. They're a media sensation. But it's just the two of them. It's just husband and
Wow.
wife. And so they have no external employees. They're making $2 to $3 million in EBITDA a year. But guess what? The buyer is not going to base your business on $2 to $3 million of EBITDA because they're going to subtract out what they need to build that infrastructure. Same thing. We're selling an app company that's doing about $2.5 million in EBITDA. And yeah, we could sell this for like 10 million, but the problem is there's no infrastructure, there are no employees. There's no people, there's no independent contractors. It's the wife and the husband for the app company. We just got an offer for 5 million, which is a decent offer because again, there's no infrastructure. So I go back to talking to all these, like I said, it's not just millennials, but all these people who are starting these companies. You can't just start a company out of your home, expect to scale that, expect that to be sustainable, expect to sell that. You have to go back and invest in your business. I don't call that overhead. I call that an investment in your company.
Completely agree. If you had to go back, like just in hindsight of all the conversations you've had in the past couple years and go back, is there
You're my
any...
favorite.
Well, I knew that already. I mean, that's why I was the first to come in and officially announce. By the way, folks, audiobook. Like you can get the book on audio now. We double checked. It is on Audible, which is Amazon apparently. I didn't know. But Audible, Apple, wherever you can find an audiobook, Exit Rich is now on audio, which if you're like me, you like to go to the gym and also listen to books and run and listen to books. It's a great way to consume it, and I highly recommend
let's
it.
talk about that real quick because only for the month of May is it available for $2.99, which is less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Now, are you reading it though?
What's that?
Now, are you reading it though?
No. Do you want to listen to my voice all the time?
Yes. That's
No,
you got to have
I
the
don't wanna
original
listen to my
author's voice in there. So I'll give Michelle 1 point off for that one, but extra points that they did get it on audio. But it depends. Sometimes the author isn't, meant to read the book, but I like it when the author reads the book because that
I read
passion
my
is
very
there.
first book, and
Yeah.
it was one of the worst things I've ever done in my entire life. I had to stand there. Well, first of all, we tried to crush, 250-page book down into doing it in a day or day and a half in Washington, D.C. And oh my God, have you ever done it?
I've done a lot of podcasts, and after that, I'm like,
podcasts are easy.
Yeah.
We're reading, and first of all, I get people screaming at me, no, Michelle, more inflection, no, Michelle, more this, more hype, more. And I'm like, for hours upon hours, you're standing. You cannot do it sitting down. They want you standing. And it was a painstaking process. I'm like, I'll never do that. And then after the finished product, I hated it. So I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Fair enough.
But it's a good voice. It's a beautiful voice. You'll love it.
Yes. And if you want to listen to Michelle's beautiful voice, of course you got her on my podcast. So there you go. That's a win right there. But what I was saying is going back in hindsight, is there anything you would update or change just in the material after it's kind of been out there for the last full year now, or 2 years now?
It was released last year, June of last year.
Yeah.
Well, it was supposed to come out in April 2020, but this little thing called the pandemic happened. So I had to pivot.
I don't know what you're talking about. I live in Florida now.
Yeah, Florida, there's no pandemic. But I had to pivot and completely restructure. And then we launched last year. I think it was June of 2021. What would I do different? Of course. See, that's the thing with an entrepreneur, and that's the thing with a writer. Oh, he's like, oh my gosh, I should put that story. Oh my gosh, I should talk about this. Oh my gosh, I should have talked about that. But then it'd be a 1,000-page book, And that's why there'll be another book coming out. I mean, this is Exit Rich is my third book. So I have a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. Of course, there's always something that you want to go back. There's nothing I would change. because I'm very happy with the product. It is an amazing book. We've got all 5-star reviews. Everybody who's read it loves it. Everybody says, oh, how great it is, what it taught them, how it impacted their business. And that's the most important thing to me is, that it helps my readers, helps my business owners and my entrepreneurs. But yes, I would like to add stuff. I like to add this and that and this. And, we weren't really doing DSTs when I wrote, well, we were, but not to the level we are now when I wrote Exit Rich. So I'll have to go back and add content about DSTs, which is a deferred sales trust program that all entrepreneurs, business owners should know about, because it is the best strategy to defer capital gains. I mean, we're working with a client right now where we're saving them $12 million in paying taxes.
Wow.
When they sell their business. It's a DST, deferred sales trust.
A DSD.
DST.
So how does that actually, high level, how does that work? Give us a
little very
preview
high
on that.
level, because I have partners in DST. Very high level. They do a risk assessment. They look at your business. All this, by the way, is done for free. And then upon closing day, your business goes into that trust. The check never comes to you. So it bypasses you. That's why you're not paying taxes. It bypasses you and goes into the DST, to the deferred sales trust. Then you could take the deferred sales trust, depending upon your risk value, your risk assessment. You want to get paid 6%, 7%, 8%, 10%, a month, and you would pay off of that. But if you wanted to take that money and reinvest in real estate, reinvest in a startup, a business, an existing business, you can do that. You can reinvest it in anything non-personal. Now, if you're going to go buy a personal home with it, you're going to be taxed on that. So anything non-personal, you can invest in that without paying taxes on that investment. It's like the best kept secret. In fact, one of the gentlemen who runs this was on my podcast not too long ago. So you should go back and listen to that episode on Exit Rich.
Yeah.
I would add content like that back to Exit Rich, just different things like that. But as far as the end product, the outcome, I wish it was a New York Times bestseller. It should be a New York Times bestseller. With the audiobook, it can be a New York Times bestseller. If all your listeners go buy Exit Rich for $2.99 today, we can maybe make the New York Times bestsellers list.
It's a steal. If you use Audible like me, just use a damn credit, guys. Come on. Just use a credit. All you need is one credit on there, because you pay like a monthly subscription to that and you get like X number of credits a month. So either way, you should definitely go do that. But that's one of those small things too. Like just that one little sliver of information. It's not only just about the money you make, but how much money do you keep at the end of the day?
And that's what I always say to my clients. It's not about what I sell your business for. It's about what you walk away with.
Yes. Yeah. And there's just all those little tweaks, like even some of the tax credits that they came up with during the pandemic. If you lost money, but you're retained employees, you can get up to like $20K per employee or $30K per employee or something like that. A lot of those things people don't know, but because a lot of us entrepreneurs are also very right-brained, and we don't want to like spend as much time on the left-brain stuff that involves, that. So it's worth investing into experts who know what the hell they're doing and can walk you through that.
Right. 1,000%. Yep.
How did you, we never really talked about this last time. By the way, guys, go listen to the other podcasts, because that's where we really dive into the book. But I want to go deep with Michelle here, since we got her for a second round. And I want to know a little bit, like, what was your actual first dive into entrepreneurship? Like, what was your very first taste of business ownership?
Yep. So my father owned a company. In California, and I used to kind of go to work with him. But in the middle of the night, I don't even know if he sold the company. He didn't really sell the company. He gave it to his partner. In the middle of the night, he moved us to Austin, Texas, from Long Beach, California. He moved us to Austin, Texas, and then he started another company. So a little bit from him, but not really. I mean, I didn't grow up. I grew up poor. My mom shopped at Goodwill and thrift stores and things like that. I just remember always telling my mom, I'm never going to live like this. I'm always going to have more. I'm going to have abundance. I'm not going to shop. Now, there's nothing wrong with shopping at thrift stores. There's nothing wrong with shopping at Goodwill. But, I just, there was two things I knew. I knew at the early age of 7 or 8 that I wasn't going to work for anyone. And I told my mom, I'm not working for anyone. Because number one, I don't like to be told what to do. Even though my clients tell me what to do all the time. My partners tell me what to do. I don't like to work for anyone. And I knew that I wanted to surround myself with a life of abundance. I wanted to be able to really take care of my family, take care of my friends, be able to give back to my community. So I knew those two things very young. I didn't play with dolls. I didn't play with toys. I walked around with a notebook and a pen. And I would walk up to strangers and say, well, what do you do? How did you do it? How do you do it? And how did you get started? Like I was asking entrepreneurial questions when I was 7 and 8 years old. And never ever playing with toys, just playing with business ideas. And so, I had different things like lemonade stands, all the kids stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then at the age of, I think in my young 20s, it might have been my teens, I had a wedding event business that I started, and I started a publishing company, and then I started another company, and another company, and another company, and then I ended up going to work for Xerox, and I said I would never get that job. And Xerox, I don't know if I talked about this on your last podcast, but Xerox recruited me. I went to work for Xerox as a high volume manager. My nickname at Xerox was a closer. So every time somebody couldn't sell a business, a machine, they say, call Michelle, she's a closer. She could sell anything. So then within 6 months, they promoted me to regional vice president, which was a huge promotion over the whole South. Came with, huge salary, benefits, etc. But I hated it. I was miserable. And I wasn't selling anything. I was babysitting salespeople. And I was having meetings after meetings after meetings to schedule more meetings. So I ended up transitioning out of Xerox, and I opened up my own franchise sales, franchise development, franchise consulting company. And I was equity partner with different franchisors. And buyers kept coming to me, asking me for existing businesses. I'm like, that's not what we do. We sell, we're franchising. Like I would take a company that had 5 locations and I would blow you up. That's what I did. But I ended up listening to all these people say, I want an existing business. So I'm like, you know what? I can do both. And that's when I transitioned into M&A over 20 years ago.
Over 20 years ago. Do you feel like the Xerox scenario was a divergence of like in hindsight, you should have kept rolling in through entrepreneurship versus going into the corporate world?
Yeah, yes and no. It was a 1-year diversion. I didn't spend 10 years there. It was a 1 year. I was there for 1 year. And so everybody was mad at me because when I got that promotion, I was interviewed with my peers. I was interviewed with people who had been there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I've only been there for 6 months. And then I get the position. I beat all of my friends at Xerox, and then I quit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, yes and no. I learned a lot at Xerox. Xerox has the best training in the world. If you look at Starbucks, the founder worked at Xerox. If you look at Spanx, the Sarah story, she worked at Xerox. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that kind of got their start at Xerox. Xerox has one of the best training programs, leadership programs in the country. They used to. I don't know about anymore, but they did when I was there. And, I learned a lot about Xerox. I learned a lot about their culture. One thing I love about Xerox is when they hire you, you have to go and sit and observe every different department. So if I'm in sales, I have to go sit with the CSRs, customer service representative, because I got to see what they do and, what it's like to be in their position. Then I had to go follow a service technician and go with them to install, big machines, because Xerox sells big machines, right? But I wasn't selling the small copiers. We were selling the big DocuCenters and everything else. So we would have to travel with the service department. Then we would have to travel and sit with the loan officers, with the finance department. And I like that because it really teaches you about every aspect of the company, because it takes a team. It's not just about the salespeople. Salespeople always think, gosh, without salespeople, you would have nothing. That's not true. Without service, you'd have nothing. You might sell it, but if you never service it, you're not going to get more sales, right?
Right. Retention is everything. Upselling
Exactly.
your clients is if not even more important and less costly than bringing in new customers in the door.
Right. And then I think also Xerox, so it taught me all of that. And I really liked, learning. I think it's important to learn different aspects of a company so that you can be empathetic and understand what the other member of the team goes through, not just what you're going through at that time. Because we used to scream at the service technicians saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Well, we didn't realize that they had like 5 horrible calls before that. You know what I mean? Or we would yell at the CSRs because they didn't get the machines delivered in time. But yet they had this big old accident that happened with the machines coming out of the manufacturing plant. So it taught me that, but it also gave me clarity to know I really don't want to work for someone else.
Yeah. But you probably learned how like a big well-oiled machine like Xerox works. Did you apply, like,
I
did you
learned the
take
good
that?
and the bad.
Yeah,
Because
right.
there's good and there's a lot of bad. I mean, because the problem in management is you're not getting anything done. You're not solving problems because there's so much red tape, so much bureaucracy you have to go through, which I like to solve problems. I'm a solutions oriented person. I
Mhm.
move fast. I don't want to wait for other people. I want to make a decision, get it done. That's how I train my team. I'm like, don't come to me with your problem. Come to me with your solutions, or don't come to me at all. Come in my office, and they still do it to this day. Michelle, we got a problem. I'm like, we don't have a
No
problem.
problem.
We have solutions. What is yours? Start with your solution, and then back into it and tell me what the problem was.
It's very validating to hear that because who knows, maybe I picked this up from you, but just like these are things that we apply in our own company too. Is like there's no problems, guys. Like, I mean, you could literally lose your life tomorrow. This is a business. It's not life or death. Like, nothing here is end all be all. We've got hiccups, we've got roadblocks, but nothing that's unsolvable or overcomable.
And I think that message is more important now than ever before because coming out of this pandemic and dealing with the change and employees and work environment, etc. And employers are about to lose their mind. Owners are losing their minds right now because the employee pool is so terrible.
So bad.
People don't show up for jobs. They take a job, they don't show up for the job, or they go and they go to lunch and they don't come back. I mean, I have a firm that we do a lot of business with, a law firm. They have 3 attorneys get up and walk out the same day and go set up shop right down the street from them. There's no non-compete with attorneys. You can't have a non-compete with an attorney. So, you know what he said to me? I mean, he had good perspective. He said, you know what, Michelle, I built this firm. My dad and I built this firm. It's a temporary setback. I built this company over and over and over again, and we'll build it again. So my favorite saying is, "This too shall pass." I'll try not to kick your ass.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, nothing. I mean, that's the difference between those
Yeah.
who make it. Like, if my dad always says, like, if it was easy, dude, everyone would do it.
That's
Right?
what I
If it
always
was
say.
easy,
Like, if
everyone
we
would
did
do
a
it.
sell $20 million company, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And you just got to know this too shall pass. But people get so caught up in the weeds. Like, I got a company we're selling for $55 million right now. And the owners lost. Well, they don't lose, but the employees are holding the owners hostage, and they're like, "We're taking vacation for Christmas." Well, first of all, the policy says you got to request it. You got to give so much notice. You can't leave. 3 people in the same department can't leave at the same time. Like, you can't all be out together. Guess what they did? They all 3 left anyway. I said, "If you don't like it, fire us." Well, they can't fire them because they're in the middle of a sale. The employees don't know that, but they're in the middle of a sale. So guess
Wow.
what? The owners didn't get to take their vacation. It's owned by brother and sister. And that happens sometimes, but guess what? They'll probably be fired after the sale goes through because the new owner has their own people.
They're still working through the sale, so
Yeah,
I
they're still
guess
working their sale. And she asked me, she goes, "Look, I want to fire them right now." I said, "You can't do that. You can't do that. You
yeah.
can't fire them right now. Can't
So
do that."
$55 million sale. How many employees are in this company?
350.
300. Oh, so it's a sizable business then.
It's a sizable business, but this was the accounting department.
Oh.
All 3 people are leaving. And guess what she needs to do? She needs to give me financials, and she needs to give me due diligence items because we're under contract. So anyways, it's stuff like that where you just, people like your initial reaction is just to kind of lose it and get stuck in that. But you just got to take a deep breath and say, you know what, this too shall pass. I'm going to learn something from this. There's a reason I'm going through this now, and talk yourself off the ledge.
If I could, oh man, even few months before you and I had met last year, I could only begin to tell you some of the stuff going on in our business. That's like, we may not have a business tomorrow. And
Yeah.
it's just like overnight, just something crazy happens and insanity. And we just push through truck. Now it's like growing faster, better, bigger than ever before. But it's just all about keeping your head down, staying focused, not getting distracted by shiny objects.
Yeah, and not letting it get to you. Like I just spoke to a lady today, has a large accounting firm and really good business, but she's not making any money, and she's not making. But I always say lack of profits is not the problem; it's the symptom of not operating on the other 5 Ps. And so now she's trying to raise venture capital, and she wanted my opinion, and I said no, you're not going to raise venture capital. She said, why not? I said because you got your business this far, and you're right over that hump. You're right over that hump. She has 150 clients on a reoccurring model, and she's about to break into the franchise market. I said, what you need is a consultant. You need somebody, a mentor. You need a mentor. You don't need somebody to invest money into your company because money is not always the answer. There's things that you should be doing in your company right now that you're not doing because you're just focused on the money, Money's not the problem. Money's the symptom of. So you're going to take $250,000 as a short-term fix. Now you're giving up equity in your company, which you might have a bigger problem later by doing that.
So is she going to franchise it or just keep building?
No. She's going after franchisors to get their franchisees on her system. She has a really unique approach to accounting. And when she breaks into that, like she already has a couple, but she could bring on hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of clients and doesn't have them at all. She's got a staff there. And I told her different ways to do that. And I said, but taking money is not always the answer because money doesn't fix your problem.
It makes it worse sometimes.
Money
right?
is a temporary solution. Temporary is temporary. It's a temporary Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It's a temporary Band-Aid. And sometimes it does make it worse. Now, why do you think if you ever watch Shark Tank, they're like, what do you need this money for? What are you going to use it for? What are you going to do with it?
Oh my God. And money's flowing like crazy. Investors are just pouring money into companies like crazy. And like you see, it seems like the companies that get all this massive amounts of funding right now are going down quicker than those who are like actually building a company that's exitable, that has all the framework in place.
That's what I told her. I said, look, you need a mentor, and I can help you do different things, and I can give you money like that. But without the mentoring advice, that's not going to solve your problem.
So you do outside of your main business, you do one-on-one mentorship and advisory or like group mentorship, or what are those programs like?
Yeah, so we specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing businesses. We don't just sell businesses. That's another thing that really separates us. You asked earlier what separates Exit Rich from all the other books, because Exit Rich is not about selling a business. Exit Rich is about building a sellable asset. That's the big difference. But we specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing, and I partner with business owners. So one of the ways I work with people is if I feel it's a great business. Now, I'm not going to partner in a restaurant. I love my restaurant owners, so don't get mad at me. But I'm not going to partner in the restaurant industry. It's not an industry I want to be in for a multitude of reasons. If I'm going to partner, if I'm going to invest my money, my resources, my core competencies, I want a niche. I want something that's unique, something that's different that you don't see on every street. The restaurant industry is so competitive and so volatile. So I like a niche business, number one. Number two, I want to make sure I can add that value and that we can actually grow the footprint. And I look for, the partner, because I look at them and their psychology, because you'll never grow a business beyond what you can grow the owner. You'll never grow a business beyond what you can grow the owner. The owners get stuck because they have all this unconscious, in their brain that's making decisions based upon, their childhood, based upon their programming that they're not even aware of, And so I always look at, really like, I almost date the owner before I marry them. I really date. I really get to know them. But I do partner with the business owners, investing my money. I did it with a company in Houston not that long ago. The other way that we work with clients is obviously we sell businesses. We obviously help buyers find the right businesses to buy. We work with a lot of private equity groups that hire us to go find them businesses. But we have a Road to Exit Rich program. And the Road to Exit Rich program is a 12-month program. It's committed. You got to be committed for 12 months, And it's a 12-month program that really takes you from A to Z, meaning that we sit down with our clients. Like we just took on a new client. They've been in business for 15 years, and they're not really making any money. And the husband's working 80 freaking hours a week. And I asked him, what are your objectives? And the wife is, I really want to spend more time with my husband. I didn't think I would ever say that, but I really want to spend more time with my husband. And so I take him, through the GPS exit model. We go through the bottlenecks. We typically identify the top 3 to 5 bottlenecks. We help them eliminate those bottlenecks. We go through the 6 Ps. We do an evaluation in the beginning. So if they say, oh, I want to sell, and this couple did say this, they said, I want to sell for 10 million. So we're doing the evaluation right now to see what they're worth. They're probably going to be worth maybe 2 million. And so once we do the valuation now, we know what they want to sell for, what their time frame is. We're already going to identify who those buyers are, what those synergies are that those buyers are looking for that will make them pay more money than anyone else, in which to create a bidding war. And then we work with them on where the numbers should be. And then we work with them why you're not making that kind of money. Because they have a great product, they have a great service, they have a great reputation. But their overhead is through the roof. And they'll just bring somebody in and pay them a high salary. And I'm all for paying people right, but it's got to make sense for the company. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a plastics manufacturing company we were working with. They were upside down in overhead because they've been in business for 30, 40, 50 years. They were Asian. And they brought a lot of family in, they brought family in, that worked for them, and they kept giving raises and raises and raises and raises and raises. And guess what? When there's a recession, when there's a pandemic, when there's this or that, do you think you can go back to the employee and cut the raise? You can, but it can be detrimental. And so their profit margins are so slim that they were never able to increase the revenues in which to cover the increase in labor costs. Does that make sense?
100%.
So lack of profits was not their problem. High employee overhead without performance bonuses, because I would rather pay somebody a little bit lower salary. I give them a higher bonus when the company's doing well, when they're performing, so that everybody shares on the upside.
And that's trickier now. I mean, especially with resignation, like people are demanding, they're just going across the street, getting double and then going back and renegotiating their salary. And I
don't want those people.
It's chaos. And I agree.
You'll never take them back.
You don't want those people, but then how the hell do you find and recruit and attract the right people who are willing to take less money and, work for the business growth?
Well, that's the tough part, right? That's where the secret sauce is. What I have found works for us, and it doesn't work for everybody, is we go to colleges. We have a tremendous internship. We have 4 or 5 schools around us, major universities like Tulane, Loyola, UNO, and LSU. And I think we got almost 100 resumes for analysts. So they all want to work a summer internship, but there were some in there that want a full-time position. We're only going to take 5. So out of 100, I'm picking 5. But out of those, I made 2 offers for a permanent position, and they turned down other offers that were slightly more because they see the upside here with the bonuses and commissions, and it's the work they want to do versus to go and work for an insurance company, which is something they have no desire to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I think setting up bonuses and commissions too, a lot of business owners struggle with that, and they think it's only intended for sales teams versus.
It's not. Look, we own medical clinics, and we have every department gets bonused. but every department gets bonus based upon the team effort.
Mm.
And if somebody on the team is dragging the team down, and that team doesn't make, their goals that are set for them to get that bonus, guess what? All those people are mad at that one person that dragged the team down. So it helps everybody work together as a unified front. And it's also set up for success where everybody doesn't share. It's like whoever really outperformed, right? Whoever really did the best. My team is set up the same way. We have team bonuses, team commissions, and it's set up by who performs the most, who over excels, things like that. And it creates a friendly environment and it creates a little bit of a competitive environment, but in a good way. Does that make sense?
But before I let you run, I selfishly have been curious about this question myself. And at what point do you think, because I've still got a lot left to go, there's no reason I need to sell this great cash flowing business in the way that it sits right now, and I want to continue to grow it. What do you believe acquisition is a potentially good strategy to look at for that? And how do I go about campaigning for acquisition in our business versus, like a merging another company in with ours for growth?
So do I believe acquiring businesses is a great strategy for you?
For us to grow, yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think it's a great strategy for most industries because if you can acquire a business that has, go back to the 6 Ps. Go back to the 6 Ps. Remember, you don't build a business, you build people. So if you can go back to the 6 Ps and say you want to acquire businesses, but they have to meet the 6 Ps, right? Or at least the Ps that you need the most. And maybe that's people, maybe that's talent. I once merged a media company. They were a media company. They have 5 clients. Can you imagine just having 5 clients? They service casinos. So they had the biggest casinos, but only 5. But during the process, they lost 2 of the 5. So they were no longer sellable for their desired price.
Yeah.
So I found another media company. So they had this huge, they had great talent and they were paying big salaries because they had the best of the best talent for the casino. When they lost 2 clients, they were taking money out of savings to feed these people, to keep them on their staff. And so I had another company, a media company, that had the opposite problem. They had lots and lots of clients. They were very well diversified, but guess what they didn't have? They didn't have the skills. They didn't have the team. They didn't have the talent. So I merged the 2 together. So you need to look at your company and ask yourself, what do you need the most? Do you need that team? Do you need that talent the most? Do you need more congruent revenue streams? I call that product. That's the second P is product. First P is people. Second P is product. Do you need multiple congruent revenue streams? And maybe you buy a strategic asset that will bring you more revenue streams than what you currently have.
Instead of building it, buy it.
Focus on social media. But there's a huge need for Google AdWords, SEO, etc. I'm just throwing things out. And then you find a Google company that's doing really good, crushing it, and the owner wants out. That's another good strategic congruent revenue stream for you, right? So you could say, I need that talent, that's people. You could say, hey, I really need more congruent revenue streams, that's products. Sometimes companies will buy companies for processes. When I say processes, really, really efficient processes with technology that's superior in the industry, that might be what you need. Or if you say, look, I need proprietary assets, I could really benefit like Facebook did. Facebook said, I could really benefit from 1 billion users. So I'm going to go pay $19 billion for WhatsApp.
Yeah.
They're hemorrhaging money.
But they're not doing anything. I mean, they haven't monetized it at all, right? In any way, it's just the data of the users.
I think they have. Huh. I don't know for sure. But listen, if there's 1 billion users and you get a percentage of those 1 billion users to get on Facebook and advertise and stuff, that's monetization, right?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Do you like first off, should I be prospecting and just really building as many relationships with business brokers, or should I be going and outreaching and finding the companies? They may not be actively advertising that they're selling their business, and go build relationships with them and maybe negotiate owners financing and merge them in together.
So to answer that question, I would not go to build. I would not go and build a bunch of relationships with business brokers because business brokers sell pizzerias and coffee shops and ice cream stores. M&A advisors is who you should build relationships with because they're selling larger companies and they're merging businesses together. Now, you could go out and look for businesses on your own, but it's extremely time consuming and most business owners.
Yes, it is, Michelle, as I found in the last few months. Like
extremely time consuming. And not only that, but if any of these business owners have read Exit Rich, they, look, you never want to tell anybody you're selling your business. That's the kiss of death. Because think about it, employees get scared. I mean, I have had sellers, business owners tell their employees they're selling, and employees just jump ship.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh my God, an owner's going to come in and bring his own people. And then so employers don't like it, customers don't like it. So good businesses are listed with advisors. They're not for sale by owners. What you should do first and foremost is really identify what you want, what you're wanting to buy. Is it just the EBITDA? Is it people? Is it processes? Do you need that database? Do you need those contracts? A lot of media companies are buying other media companies right now because of reoccurring subscription models. I've got one media company that has over 2,000 clients on a reoccurring model.
Wow.
And so you got to really identify what it is you're looking for. You need to be crystal clear on that. Then you look at, the companies in your space, right? Then you come to me, not any other advisor. I'm the best. You come to the best. And you say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. These are the targets. Can you approach them? And you just pay a buyer fee for that. If you sell it. If we sell it to you, if you buy it. Yeah. So it doesn't really cost you anything up front.
Love it. All right. Well, then we got to continue the conversation because I think I asked you guys, but I don't think you're in some of the industries that we're looking at to merge in. Content marketing, content.
We have content marketing companies.
Yeah. And our process is phenomenal internally. Our own process, our team, our structure, our client retention is enviable in our industry. It's 6x what the normal industry average is. And now it's go time. And I think bringing in another team who's built it and will allow us to help us to scale into this new kind of industry that we're scaling into, I think is the ticket.
I would have never said we're not into those industries because we are.
Yeah. We'll talk. We'll wrap this up and then we'll chat. So
definitely talk because even if we don't have something that meets your, that you're looking for, it doesn't mean we can't find it. But I also want you to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I want you to think outside the box too, because we're selling an app company right now.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of media companies looking at this app company because they have such a huge database of users that are prospective clients for them.
The WhatsApp
so you don't need to just think in the box. You got to think outside the box, expand that.
I have some ideas on that. Well, and so on that note, Michelle, first off, you're welcome here anytime. I always love talking to you and really appreciate it. And guys, make sure you do go check out her podcast, seilertucker.com/podcast. And then anything else, just actionable takeaways that you want to share before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think two things. Takeaways. Right now, the market has changed so much. Buyers are not loyal like they used to be. I always say buyers are liars, but buyers are not loyal like they used to be. Remember how buyers would be loyal, your clients would be loyal? They're not anymore.
Yeah.
Buying habits have changed so dramatically. You can thank Amazon for that, and you can thank this pandemic for that. So you really got to go back to the bases and ask yourself, but more importantly, ask your clients, what do you want to experience when you do business with me? Come up with 3 things. The McDonald brothers, who founded McDonald's in 1940. Have you ever watched the movie The Founder?
Was that the McDonald's,
the
franchise one? Was that with what's his name, the actor in it?
Michael Keaton?
Yes, is that the one with Michael Keaton? Yes, I've seen that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So So I can give you so much advice, but the biggest thing is business owners are losing market share like crazy right now
Very true.
because they're doing things the way they've always done it. You're either growing or dying. There's no in between. The name of the game is AIM. Always innovate and market. Always innovate and market. You know, I used to tell clients when I was helping them go through their overhead what to cut. They're like, I'm going to cut marketing. I'm like, no, 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 no. Marketing's the last thing you ever cut. I said, you look at your marketing, you determine what vehicles are working for you and what aren't. If Facebook ads aren't working, cut Facebook ads. If Google ads are working, double down on Google ads, right? You double down on what's working. But what I want to get back to is you can't pretend to know what your customers want. You have to create a wow experience for them. So you really need to go back to the basics like McDonald's did in the movie The Founder. If you haven't watched it, watch The Founder. So many golden nuggets in that movie. But back in 1940, the McDonald's brothers said we want to build a fast food restaurant, a fast food process based upon what we want our customers to experience, our clients to experience. See, business owners go and develop their processes based upon their own agenda. Doctors, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. Friday they're off. So McDonald's said we want our customers to experience food that's great tasting, hot, fast, 30 seconds or less. That was back in 1940s. You can eat at McDonald's anywhere in the world and still get that. So you need to go back and look at your business and ask your clients, what are the 3 things you want to experience when you do business for me? If you don't create a wow experience for your consumers, you're going to lose market share, I promise you. Then look at your business and ask yourself, what business are you in? What are your superpowers? And what business should you be in? Amazon, McDonald's did that. When Ray Kroc came to take over McDonald's, he was in the bank trying to borrow more money because he was already overextended. And the loan officer said, we can't give you any more money. So he walks out of the bank. This gentleman follows him out. He said, look, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard your conversation. He said, I think I can help you. Do you remember that scene?
Yep.
The movie, he said, what business are you in? And Ray Kroc goes, I'm in the restaurant business. Or Michael Keaton said, I'm in the restaurant business. He goes, no, what business are you in? He goes, don't play with me. I've had a hard day. I'm in the restaurant business. And Ray Kroc goes, and the guy goes, no, you're in the real estate business.
Yeah.
You're not in the restaurant business. You got to be in the real estate business. You got to buy the property, build the franchises, lease it back to the franchisee. When they're not compliant, then you cancel that contract and put the next franchisee in, right? That gave them the leverage. They gave them the leverage to steal McDonald's away from the McDonald brothers, basically. And McDonald's Realty Corporation is the biggest real estate holding company in the world. So you got to go back to your business. I mean, Amazon did that.
Are they bigger than BlackRock even in real estate holdings?
They're really big. Yeah. I don't know if they're largest anymore, but if you go back and look at Amazon, they did the same thing. In 1980s, they go, what business are we in? Oh, we're in a fulfillment center. What business should we be in? Oh, we should be, what's our superpower? Our superpower is fulfillment. We do it better than everybody. What business should we be in? Oh, that's easy. We should fulfill products for business owners all around the world. I did this with my graphics company in Houston. I said, what business are we in? They said, we're in an install business. I said, what's our biggest issues? They said, getting good installers. I said, what's our superpower? They said, our art and our quality graphics, and we can put them like paint by a number in a box, and you can just put it on like a paint by numbers. It's so easy. We're the only ones that do that. I said, so what business should we be in? And they said, uninstalled. Get rid of the installers. Get rid of your headache in your business. Get rid of the headaches. By being in an uninstalled business, that will way more than quadruple our business overnight. And we don't have to deal with the headaches of installers. Does that make sense?
See, in the big picture of what Michelle's saying too, for you listening, is it's so easy to get close to your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
Having someone from an outsider, this is why I spend and invest, not spend, but invest so much in mentors and coaches and networking and relationships and advisors and all of that, because of exactly this. I mean, how crucial is that? Just actually even knowing, like, what the hell business are we actually in?
Yeah.
Which most people don't.
The business you're in and you started with 20 years ago is probably not the business you should be in now. And sometimes that's not a major overhaul. Sometimes it's a few tweaks. And you also got to change your language, like working capital. No. You're investing. You're not putting money. You're not putting money. You're not spending money. You're investing money.
Right.
Entrepreneurs have bad language habits, and I always say, like what you just said earlier, you're too close to it. I always say it's hard to read the label from the inside of the bottle. You need an outsider's perspective to read the warning signs and keep you out of the danger zone.
I kind of like the danger zone, Michelle. Live life on the danger zone a little bit.
Yes, but not in business. Go drive a race car or something. Have good insurance.
Oh, fine. All right, fair enough.
Have goodwill, but not in business. In business, you want. It's not what you don't know. It's not what you know to get you in trouble. It's what you don't know. And sometimes things are so close. Like Ray Kroc would have never ever thought about real estate. If that guy didn't follow him out of the bank, I don't think you'd ever have a McDonald's everywhere.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't think he would have thought about it. It took the outsider's perspective. Right? Right. Can I get an amen?
I totally agree. Amen for the businesswoman.
All right. So I want to tell you a little bit about getting the audio version. So when you go get Exit Rich, go get Exit Rich today. You can buy it at your favorite. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble, Apple, Amazon, and go get it today, because for $2.99, which is half the cup of a coffee, the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you also become an Exit Rich lifetime member. And what does that mean? That means that you get to go to Seiler Tucker Academy and download all the documents to operate your business and documents to sell your business. So we have sample policy and procedure manuals, org charts, non-compete agreements, employment contracts. To sell your business, we have sample prospectuses, letter of intents, purchase agreements, due diligence checklists, closing docs. There is every document there that you can upload and use. Just take out my company name.
And you get that with the audiobook too, right?
Yes,
with the audio
you
version?
get all that with
perfect.
the $2.99 audiobook.
Which is like $50,000, $60,000 investment if you try to go get that anywhere else.
1,000%.
Guys, go grab that. Whether you want the physical book, you want the audio book, or do like me and do both, right? Sometimes you listen, read along as you go.
$27, you get both. What? $30, you get both.
Yeah,
you get both. And share it with your friends. Share it with your community. Share it with other fellow entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I know. I wish I could track word of mouth a little bit better. I can't tell you how many people I've promoted your book out to who actually went and bought it. And I'm like, where's my commission check, Michelle? I've been waiting here by the mailbox for months now.
Your commission will come back to you. It's great because you're doing a good thing for all of your people.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. We're going to wrap this thing up. Guys, make sure you go follow Michelle too. Get the book today, and we'll be streaming this, on all the audio apps, but we will be streaming this live on video here shortly. So with that, Michelle, you're able to stick around for just one quick second when we wrap up here?
Sure.
Cool. All right. Much love to you guys. Make it great. We'll see you on the other side.